Hey, Tris, you like sushi, motherfucker? Welcome to Halloween, a Beniverse marathon, where we are talking all things Halloween. Today, for those who do not get the reference, we are talking Halloween Resurrection. This is the 8th installment within the Halloween franchise. This is a direct sequel to Halloween H20, 20 years later. God, I still can't pronounce that title correctly. This is the direct sequel to that movie. This film, for all those wondering, but Ben, Michael Myers gets his head chopped off at the end of H20. How does he come back? This film conveniently explains it for about 15 minutes and then tells a completely different story for the rest of this. This is a film that comes out in the early 2000s. This is a time in our history where Tris and I are approximately the age, I want to say I'm
4 years old.
Yeah, I'm 4 years old in 2002. He's 4 years old. This is a film that comes out, I love this, it comes out in July of 2002. This film is much maligned. It is much joked about. For many, it's the low point in this series. And then for others, this is a fun, campy movie that misses the mark as a Halloween film, but as a pure comedy, it is incredible. We're going to talk about this film. We're going to talk about all things Halloween Resurrections and try to make sense of a movie that really doesn't make sense. With me today is my co-host, as usual, roommate Tris.
Hello.
Okay, I'm going to just let you talk about this real quick because this was my first time watching this movie.
Oh, good.
What's your relationship with this movie?
So this was my third Halloween movie ever. And
Can you give us the order of the Halloween films for you?
The original, and then Halloween 20 years later, whatever.
Yeah.
And then Halloween Resurrection right after H20. And I wanted to stop watching the movie the minute they killed off Laurie.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most egregious decision this movie makes. Like I hinted at, this movie is kind of a film of two parts. This is, okay, well, we have to bring back Michael Myers, and we have to explain the fact that Laurie killed Michael Myers, so how do we get through that? And how do we just basically have Jamie Lee Curtis, who has no interest in doing this movie, but she's alive at the end of H20. How do we deal with that, and how do we move with this series going forward? Their solutions to kill Laurie Strode within the first 15 minutes of this movie, and then do something completely, entirely different. Whether that works, that's up for the interpretation of you. But this is probably easiest, as I always say. Tris, you have the film. You have it, the Blu-ray, right behind you. Can you just read the back cover for us so we know what Miramax wants us to think of this film and its synopsis?
First of all, ABC TV calls it terrifying.
ABC TV.
And then Fox TV has actually somehow, to get political, somehow a more accurate description. One hell of a fun movie.
What's NBC TV's opinion?
It's not there.
Oh, okay. They weren't able to. They didn't return the calls.
San Jose Mercury News calls it surprising and fun.
San Jose Mercury News. Well, you gotta love San Jose.
The back box says original Halloween star Jamie Lee Curtis is back. Is back and joined by Busta Rhymes and Tyra Banks in the terrifying Halloween Resurrection, another installment in the electrifying horror film series. The reality programmers at Dangertainment have selected Rudy, Bill, and a group of thrill-seeking teenagers to spend one fun-filled night in the childhood home of serial killer Michael Myers. Can I just say they didn't even mention the main character, Sarah?
Yeah, they don't. They barely mention Freddy, in fairness.
I I don't even know who Bill is.
Bill is
Thomas Ian Nicholas.
Is Bill... I think Bill's the guy watching on the computer.
No, he's an American Pie. And it goes to show you how much we like this movie. We don't even know who the characters are. I know who Rudy is. Rudy is the chef.
This film's a lot. This film's kind of a disaster. This film is also an hour and 26 minutes. I think that's a huge...
Is it really? I think
this film is 100. This film is an hour and 26 minutes.
Is Halloween H20 shorter than that?
That film I think is like 98 minutes.
Okay.
Or sorry, 88 minutes. Oh, we lost Tris. He fell.
Yeah, we got it. This is in post production.
This is post. Let's just okay, maybe we should just restart from a certain point.
My display.
Fix your display, and okay, I know what we're going to do. Fix your display. I'm going to edit, and I'm going to throw it to you. So grab Halloween Resurrection and read the back cover, and we'll start from there.
All the way back there?
Just the actual reading of the description of the movie.
Oh, also, Knoxville News Sentinels calls it smart and scary.
Perfect.
It's not smart and it's not scary, so therefore Knoxville's a liar. But the planned live broadcast turns deadly when their evening of excitement becomes a night of horror as Michael himself decides to crash the party.
Hang on, that's going to be really hard for me to edit. Can you start from the beginning of the actual just description?
Original Halloween star Jamie Lee Curtis is back and joined by Busta Rhymes and Tyra Banks in the terrifying Halloween Resurrection, another installment in the electrifying horror film series. The reality programmers at Dangertainment have selected Rudy, Bill, and a group of thrill-seeking teenagers to spend one fun-filled night in the childhood home of the serial killer Michael Myers. But the planned live broadcast turns deadly when their evening of excitement becomes a night of horror as Michael himself decides to crash the party. And they don't even mention the main character, Sarah. So this box is just a lie. It is.
Do they mention my girl Katie Sackhoff as Jen?
No, they do not mention her.
Okay. So let's just kind of break it down. And show us the actual cover of the film again, just because it's going to make a huge point. Jamie Lee Curtis is on the cover of the film. Mm-hmm. She's not in the film. She's quite literally in the film for about 10 solid minutes before she's killed by Michael, and maybe like one of the stupidest deaths in the movie.
This is a photo of her from H20. She didn't even show up to the promo.
I know, it's a pretty amazing boss energy from Jamie Lee Curtis to basically get paid a certain amount for this movie and not do anything for this movie. She's in the film for 10 minutes. She falls to her death. They kill probably the most important character in the Halloween series besides Michael Myers. Literally have her just fall. And then we go on. She gets stabbed, but she dies because of the fall. The fall kills her. It's the first 15 minutes of this film are pretty inexcusable. If you skip to the 20-minute mark where Busta Rhymes is really on screen and you have a great 60-minute movie of just pure entertainment. Let me just say a few things about Halloween Resurrection that surprised me. We just talked about the screamification of Halloween H20.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Blair Witchification of Halloween. This is
done so poorly.
This is a film that saw found footage movies and was like, we should add that to Halloween, to the franchise. It is some of the most egregious found footage I've ever seen in a movie. It's almost nauseating how bad it is.
I will say that this wasn't originally supposed to be the premise of this movie. Or not. this started out as a non-Halloween movie that they decided.
You can tell.
Yeah.
This is a movie that clearly the people over at the Weinstein Company at Miramax at Dimension, they had this film. They had basically a film that was actually, interestingly enough, a precursor to reality horror films, in the sense that reality TV is about to hit just a huge craze, and there's going to be a bunch of horror films that come after it, satirizing basically the rise of reality TV and that level of horror.
Uh-huh.
This is a film in that sense that's actually a pretty good precursor for what is about to come.
Sure. Let's give that movie that.
Let's give this film that. And then, of course, it's like, okay, the two most important horror films to come out from between screen, I think you would probably agree, it's The Blair Witch Project in 1999, and it's The Ring in, I think, this same year as Halloween Resurrection. Those are arguably the two most important horror films to come out between Scream. This film borrows techniques from both of those films. And in the case of Blair Witch Project, blatantly steals it. I mean, it does the found footage perfectly.
I don't know if we can say it steals from The Ring since it came out the same year, but I can see the similarities for sure.
There's an aesthetic to this film that my guess is somebody worked on the other film, or the studio had got an idea of this film, or just somehow that they knew The Ring was going to be this type of film. I would have to venture a guess that somebody saw this film and was like, all right, we should take this into consideration for our Halloween film. I can't prove any of this. It's just based on my guess of probably somebody at another studio showed it or shared it, whatever it may be. There's also another 60 minutes of this movie, like I said, that is fully based around this reality TV idea. Let's just go over some of the stars, because this is another film that shockingly has a bunch of famous people who will be working in Hollywood for a long time. Obviously, you have Jamie Lee Curtis, who's in the film for 10 minutes. You have Busta Rhymes, the rapper. Great casting. You have Bianca Kajic, who is on the show Rules of Engagement with David Spade from 2007 to 2013. You have Sean Patrick Thomas, who is in the Barbershop films. He's in a bunch of TV stuff. He continues working. You have people like Katie Sackhoff, who's now Bo-Katan on Star Wars The Mandalorian. And
she originated the role.
Yeah, she's on Clone Wars. She's in Battles. What is that?
Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica. She's in the Riddick film. She's someone who's been working in sci-fi forever. You have somebody like Luke Kirby, who's on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel now. As I'm blanking on his character in there. He's the comedian from the 1950s, the actual real one. What is that guy's name? Lenny Bruce. He's Lenny Bruce in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Thomas Ian Nicholas, who is in the films American Pie, Rookie of the Year. Tyra Banks, of course. This is a cast of people who, again, in Hollywood, continues working by all means. This is not a cast of just nobodies who only had this film. These are people that, again, continue to work about it. Miramax, the Weinsteins, Dimensions, they are well-respected people at this point in their careers. They can kind of have the sway and pull to grab any actor that they want. And people want to line up and work with this film. This film also, interestingly enough, brings back Rick Rosenthal, who directed Halloween 2, and really hasn't done another film since that. It's his legacy is going to be Halloween 2 and Halloween Resurrection. Let's just get into this film as you described. This is a film that also, again, tries to comment on the idea of who Michael Myers is and the craze around him. This is a film that it's a reality TV based around serial killers. It's shockingly relevant today with films or with TV shows like Dahmer coming out. This kind of revering of a serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of just ugly fascination. This just kind of just gross caring about this type of character / people. And that's where the film starts. I'm gathering you don't like this film.
This is a guilty pleasure film for me.
Okay. I unironically like this film.
So I think we're in the same, in a similar boat.
I think we're in a similar boat. I think you dislike the film, but you think it's ultimately really funny to watch. Is that a fair summation?
I like certain things about this movie.
Okay.
I don't know. I think it largely doesn't work, though.
Okay. Here's where my differing opinion comes in. I like large chunks of this film. I like the ideas this film is attempting to do. And I think this film is completely tongue-in-cheek.
Wait, did you say you unironically like this film?
I unironically like large sections of this film. Now, that's not me saying I'm giving this film a 3-star review. That's not even me saying I'm giving this film a positive review. There's a lot of things that I think work in this film. There's a lot of ideas that I think they scratch the surface on and almost hit on something interesting. There's a lot of performances that I like in this film. And I think the biggest reason I like this film to varying degrees, I think they're all in on it. Besides Rick Rosenthal, who I think might be one of the least self-aware directors I've ever seen, I think everyone else is in on the joke. You don't have a film that's starring Busta Rhymes and not have it be intentionally comedy.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's where there's aspects of this movie I like. So yes, am I going to say I unironically like this film? I am. I am going to actually say yes. I like large aspects of this movie. And there's about 4 to 5 other Halloween films that I would watch way less than I will watch this film. I think this film's funny. I think this film's really entertaining.
I watch this movie more than I watch Halloween 5 and 6. And because of that, Halloween 4.
Yeah, I mean, I watch this film more than I will ever watch Halloween 2. I watch it more than I will ever watch Halloween 5 or 6. I watch it more than I'll watch Kills. I'll say it right now, and we'll get to it later. I will watch this film more than I watch Halloween Ends. It's kind of middle of the pack for me. I like a lot of aspects of this film, and I think I think we can get into this right now. What is successful to you in this film?
The somehow sincerity of the performances, while also being incredibly funny.
Yeah, you're hitting on it.
Busta Rhymes is so sincere in this movie.
He is completely sincere. He is playing this ultimately so straight yet so tongue-in-cheek. Like I said, I think the only guy who doesn't understand this film as a joke is Rick Rosenthal. I think he legitimately thinks he's making another great Halloween movie.
I also really like Michael in this movie.
I agree. He's one of the better. This is a really good iteration of this character.
Brad Loree does a really good job. The mask is pretty good, which is also when they went to sculpt the mask, it is a replica of the original mask, and the reason why it looks different is because they painted it to look more menacing.
The aspect that works for me in this film so well, besides again the fact of all the sincerity of it, this film's hysterical. Hysterical. Let me just light to you a few of the jokes in this movie that I caught. Michael smashing through the door like he is the Kool-Aid Man has to be one of the funniest jokes in a movie ever. I mean, he literally just runs through this door, and he doesn't do the Kool-Aid man pause like, oh yeah! But he pauses for a second. It is such a big laugh scene. I absolutely love it. What is some of the other? I don't even understand this note. Oh, okay. I now understand the note. I said Blair Witch called. They want their horror style back. Let's see what else. Some of the other stuff. Buster Rhymes yelling at Michael Myers is like insanely funny. Like him giving Michael Myers orders about how to make the TV show.
Is this when he's also dressed as Michael
Where
Myers?
he's also dressed as Michael Myers, and he's like, you're going to give away the illusion. And Michael Myers just kind of stares at him and like walks off, just kind of confused. Great. I mean, I wanted Michael Myers to pick up a camera and just start helping record. The digital effects on TV line is hysterical, where one of the characters where I think it's Katie Sackhoff's head comes off. Like it's literally like it gets cut in half. And then one of the audience members watching it is like, oh, wow, yeah, that's just special effects and that they did on TV. And it's like, bro, this is 2002. They didn't have this capability on TV. I quoted one of my favorite lines to open this. You like sushi, motherfucker. Followed by Happy Halloween, motherfucker, twice. Followed by a round kick. Followed by a round kick to the chest from Buster Rhymes to Michael Myers. It's unironically funny.
Yes.
Like that. Those are really great jokes in this film. Are there any jokes I had that I didn't mention that you have?
It's not really a joke, but it makes me giggle every time. It's the one where the cameraman is trying to set up angles, and then he gets killed off screen, and then Michael sets down his body, and Tyra Banks goes, yeah, that's a good camera angle. Good job, buddy.
Oh, yeah. There's so many scenes like that in this film where it's just like, it's comedy, and I can't say for sure that this film fully understands that it's a comedy, but it does play it like a comedy. Like I said, the Buster Rhymes stuff just feels so funny in this film. Now, I think I've hinted at the idea that there are actual ideas that I like of this film. Some of the ideas that I like about this film is incompetent in this, but it is trying to tell a larger story about basically how we sensationalize serial killers. That there would be this reality TV show about Michael Myers, where the people sleeping in his home, where, of course, this is the home where he ends up killing like his first victim in a really brutal, bloody manner. They're all making jokes about it. Like, it's not serious. That is, like I said, it's incompetent because the film isn't smart enough to actually be commentating on it. But to take that premise and be like, this is an idea that we have for Halloween, it does feel original, and I do give them credit for trying to do that. And again, successful or not, it definitely leans probably not successful. I have to commend them for trying that.
I think that's a fair thing to do because we're looking at the film in retrospect, which is something that we as commentators and reviewers are allowed to do.
Yeah. There's this moment in this film, right, where all the characters are watching it. They're watching this show. And then, like, there's this slow realization, basically, like, oh, like the gravitas of Michael Myers, like what he's actually capable of. And it is this weird existence / back and forth / tug, whatever you want to call it, of if you're going to sensationalize crimes like this, they're going to come back. And it almost takes Michael Myers and makes him timeless in this retrospect, where it's like, you can't let the sleeping, you don't let this, what's it called? You don't let the sleeping beast snooze, where it's just like, you don't let this guy die off. You're always going to bring him back into relevancy. And Michael Myers in this film almost just embodies kind of how we perceive serial killers and murderers and all that. If you keep giving them attention, they'll always come back in some way or some form, specifically some shape. And that's, I think, the idea of Michael Myers. This film, again, doesn't do it successfully, but I understand what the story is trying to be. I don't think it's completely incompetency, yes.
So are you saying that evil doesn't die, it changes shape?
Yes, that is basically the thesis of this movie. And it's
So
the thesis of
you're
Carpenter.
quoting Halloween Ends.
It is. And that is the thesis of Halloween Ends, and I'm glad you got to that because I think Halloween Ends has a lot of the same criticisms and a lot of the same praises that I'm going to give this movie. Where this movie does try to make the idea that evil never dies, its shape is always comes back in some way or some form. That's what I like about this film. Other aspects of this film that I really enjoy is, again, this willingness to kind of do the thing closest to Halloween 3. This film could not have Laurie. It doesn't need Jamie. It doesn't really need any real connection to the Strode's family. It's just like, this is a night in Haddonfield, and Michael Myers is here. What's going to happen? It has an anthology feel to it, and I like that aspect of it. That works for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. Honestly, I think when they kill Jamie off, or when they kill Laurie off, they have this freedom to do whatever they want with Michael now.
Yeah, exactly. They don't have to do any form of connection. The film significantly is better when Laurie is killed off. Like, as weird as it is to have her killed off in just this kind of nonsensical way, the film works much better because Laurie has died at this point of the film, and they're kind of able to do their own thing that is not successful. I mean, this basically what happens is the guy who writes the first Halloween H20 film, Kevin Williamson, they ask him to, how can we continue making sequels? How can we continue making the Halloween films with your ending? And he pitches what is it? It's the ambulance driver,
Yeah.
the paramedic. He pitches the whole switch that happens. Basically, is like, well, okay, we'll have my finale, and then reshoot this scene right during post production. Shoot this scene. Basically, explain how Michael Myers would survive this, and move forward from there. It's stupid. It is straight up stupid to switch them. It doesn't make any logical sense. Literally no logical sense that Michael was switched bodies. He crushed the guy's lair. That the guy never just tries to take his mask off. It's all just really dumb. And again, once you get past the first 20 minutes of this film, I think it works on a much larger scale. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what works and what doesn't work about this movie.
Well, I pretty much agree with you.
Okay.
I don't like the opening sequence at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of the more... It's almost comedic how they bring him back, because if you watch 80s horror films, they always bring back the killer some way, and they're usually pretty dumb. I think this one takes the cake of stupid ways to bring back the killer.
They over-explained how he could come back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Honestly, if they had made this a prequel film somehow, or I don't know, if they just respected the ending in a better way respected the ending of Halloween H20 in a better way, I think people would like this movie a little bit more.
I would probably agree. You could, honestly, if you called it its own film, if you just said, this is Michael Myers, almost give it a prequel. Basically, what was Michael doing between the 20 years between Halloween and H20, and I guess the reality TV, that maybe that doesn't perfectly line up with those year gap. But I think people would have been much more forgiving to the cheesiness of this film. There was an idea that I mentioned that we were going to come back to in this episode. It's again this theory that Siskel, from Siskel and Ebert, basically draws on what horror films are during this era. Again, as a reminder, he's basically saying that thrillers, extreme violence against women, them being raped and stabbed to death, why are we getting these films now? His whole argument is with basically the growing feminist movement, with increasing women's rights, there is a section of an audience who wants to see these women killed off in very violent fashions, kind of absurdist. God, I can't say my words today. Sorry, I've been working all day. There is a section of the audience that just wants to see these women in subservient roles being abused, being tortured. That's, again, the general thesis of his argument. It's not an exact one. Please, again, check out the interview, which I'm linking on the channel right now to see more of Siskel's thoughts on it. But basically, the theory goes on where he talks about it, and he's talks about how women in the 1980s slasher films are helpless victims. Girls Home Alone, Scary Stalker, Eyes Wide, girl being tortured, a woman cowering in the corner in peril is how basically a large section of the American audience is seeing women in the 1980s in films. Again, there's exceptions. There are, characters like Ridley that does showcase these strong women. Siskel's argument is this is the cheapest film to make during the 1980s. This is the one they have the plethora of, this in comedy, where they can be made on such the cheap, and thus you have women basically just in there to be titillized, to be gawked at, and then to be kind of just like had their way done by the man. And that's what his large theory is. Halloween Resurrections plays into that notion. It does have aspects of it where it is like, okay, the women in this film are solely there to be sex objects, to have sex, and then get killed off. He has this idea where, again, Siskel has this idea where he's talking about the type of women that are always killed off in horror films. They are always independent. They're usually sexually liberated. They are free-spirited. They are politically inclined, or if not politically inclined, they speak their mind. And then they've all get killed off in a matter of fashion. And it's usually in fairly crude, sexist ways. Again, his example most famously for Halloween is the bathtub scene in Halloween 2, where a woman just basically gets strangled in the nude for a minute and then just gets killed in really horrifyingly gruesome fashion. This movie has this. It's impossible to deny that Halloween Resurrection doesn't fit into a lot of the criticisms that Siskel and Ebert have about the larger existence of slasher films. I think the character that maybe most is seen from this, I think there's two. There's Katie Sackhoff's character, who just has a really random scene that Katie Sackhoff herself has admitted that was a complete body double. Yeah. She did not know that scene was going to be in there when she saw the movie with her parents. She originally vetoed it on the script, where it's, again, for those who aren't understanding what I'm referencing, there's a scene where she lifts up her shirt and she's in her bra. She's kind of flashing her boyfriend. Katie Sackhoff did not write off that script. That is a body double. She did not know that scene was going to happen. There's other scenes where who's the character that they film having sex on reality TV?
The ginger girl? I don't know her name.
Yeah, but there's a redhead character in this where she hooks up with another guy. The camera falls down. There's also cameras just all around that they're not aware are there. They film them having sex and broadcast it on reality TV. Soon, Michael kills her soon after.
Yeah.
It fits into this trope. I mean, it does fit into this trope of horror film. I guess my question for you, and we discussed it in H20, not only does this theory hold some value, which I think we already discussed enough in H20, do those criticisms feel real in this film? And it's in particular, is this a criticism that's fared a lot at Rick Rosenthal?
It could be, especially since that scene with Katie Sackhoff, or her body double, is in the movie at all.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, you could say that it applies with the fact that Laurie dies in such a anticlimactic way. Like, she was so triumphant in Halloween H20, and this movie just brings her down. It's like putting her back in her place, you know?
Yeah, I mean, she literally falls to her death in this film. And I think the big argument also with this criticism would be that arguably the most true blatant sexist Halloween films is this film and Halloween 2. That has, again, that kind of really atrocious, brutal, violent scene in the bathtub or in the jacuzzi. That's a really violent.
I would also probably put Rob Zombie's.
Zombie's such a. We're gonna get to Zombie, and you're right to laud that criticism against Zombie.
Like, it's the only part of. Not the only part. It's one of the parts of his movies where I just don't. I can't do it.
Yeah, we're gonna get to him. I'll say right now in Zombie to discuss Zombie, that is definitely a fair criticism to laud. I think he's trying to comment on this idea that maybe even Ebert is talking about. I don't think he does it successfully at all, but I think he is trying to basically say, like, these are the type of people that get hurt. These are the ones that are mistreated within horror films. And these are the type of people that enact that. Again, whether he does that right or wrong, that's up for interpretation. We'll get to those films. I need to rewatch those films also with Siskel's criticism in mind. But you're probably right. I think it would be fair to say that Rosenthal and Zombie probably have that criticism thrown at them the most of all the directors. What I'm now trying to figure out with this movie, though, is this movie a good Halloween movie? Does this film understand Carpenter?
I feel like it's so in its own, like,
world
that you can't even compare. It's like almost trying to compare Halloween 3 to the first one.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. Here's what I will say that's really interesting. This is where the series takes a huge divergence. From up to this point, outside of Halloween 3, which you mentioned, the films are chasing John Carpenter's basically definition of what a horror slasher movie is. Halloween 4 returns to the basics of Halloween. Halloween 5, again, is fundamentally, again, the idea of, like, yeah, we're bringing back Michael Myers. 6 goes a little bit more mythological with the idea of who Michael Myers is. H20 literally brings it back to the idea of, like, this is what Carpenter originally instilled, because this is paying homage to Scream, which is paying homage to Halloween. This is the film, though, where it's like, kind of like in the Halloween 3, where it's just like, let's do our own thing with it. Like, there's no rules. We don't have to follow by anything. Laurie's dead. We just have Michael Myers and a bunch of, like, teens and cameras. Like, what's going to happen? In that case, that's kind of where the Halloween franchise sticks from now on. Halloween, the zombie films, and again, we'll talk about them later, they're their own thing. They like Halloween definitely pays a lot of respect and tries to even at points remake the first Halloween film. By the second one, Zombie's doing his own thing. There's no connection to the larger Halloween film. That is his own story. David Gordon Green kind of does the same thing. Halloween 2018, very much in the line of Carpenter. Pays homage also to H20. Halloween Kills, you start feeling this little bit of weirdness where it's like, this isn't a traditional Halloween film, but it does have Michael being Michael killing people in large numbers. And then by Halloween Ends, it's like, no, this is its own thing. Like, there's really no DNA of Carpenter in here except for the characters. And that's what Resurrection does, successfully or not. And I think there's something to be said about that.
Okay, we'll get to it with Halloween Ends, but I disagreed with your John Carpenter comment about Halloween Ends.
Okay. That's fair. We'll get to it. That's all my thoughts, though, really, on Halloween Resurrection. I mean, like, you can't say much about a film where Busta Rhymes just kicks Michael Myers in the chest while saying Happy Halloween, motherfucker.
And shocks him in the balls.
Like, that's the level of this film. Like, you're either in or you're not. And everything else, like, about this film is just like, it's dumb. The story's really dumb. It doesn't really make any sense. This TV show just seems like a bad idea. The way it's filmed doesn't make sense. All of it's just kind of a disaster. And yet I enjoy the disaster. I'm in for the ride.
Uh-huh.
That's my thoughts on this film. I don't have much else to say about it. Do you have any thoughts on this film besides that?
No.
Then I think with that, I think we can end this show with just one more idea. I have the great debate question for you, sir.
What?
Take any franchise. Doesn't have to be horror. Can be horror if you choose. And you are like, we are going to make it a reality TV where we're following these characters as they exist in this world, setting, whatever it is. What is the pitch for your TV show?
I have an interesting thing to say about that, but
okay, go for it.
I was going to say the Conjuring movies, but we also basically have that because
it's a documentary.
The main characters, those people in real life, are in like actual reality shows.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I was thinking more of the fact that like those movies almost feel documentary in their style to a degree, but you're right. They also like host a real show in real life.
I would love to see a Star Wars reality show.
That was kind of my pitch too. Like just like following
have it just like have nothing to do with anything. It's just a reality show that you could watch in the Star Wars universe.
The princesses of Alderaan. Just all of them like catfighting with each other.
It didn't age well.
It didn't age well. I'm trying to think what else.
Instead of Bad Girls Club, Bad Twilight's Club.
Oh, that's good. Have just a bunch of Twi'leks. Oh, The Bachelor in Star Wars would be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Just have like Jabba come out there.
Oh my god. Deal or No Deal, or Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, but in Star Wars?
Yeah.
I like it. Have Lando be like the host of The Bachelor.
Jeopardy, where it's just Star Wars trivia.
Yeah, okay, I like the idea. I mean, obviously, you give me more time to spend in the Star Wars universe. I'm going to pitch it. I'm going to appreciate it. I'm trying to think what my pitch for like a reality TV show. I've always thought it would be like really funny if you had the underbelly sidekicks of like the DC villains. Like
have a reality show?
Yeah, like what if Joker's henchmen, like Undercover Boss, but it's Joker's henchmen. And like Joker goes undercover, does the whole thing, and it's like this kind of sick, twisted like reality thing from him. I'd like that. I think that'd be really funny where it's just like he goes undercover as one of his own henchmen.
That'd be funny.
I think that'd be good. That would be my reality TV pitch. Like get the super villains, like sidekicks, chromies, who are all just like, These are horrible hours. We don't get paid enough. Our boss ends up just killing us. Where our union's falling apart because Joker just keeps killing our union leaders. I like the pitch. I like the idea. That is that's my idea for Halloween Resurrections, and that's really the episode on Halloween Resurrections. I hope you like this show. I hope you like what's coming soon. I'll tell you right now, I guess I'm telling this to you on air as well, Tris. Due to time constraints, we're gonna bundle these next two movies together. So we're doing zombies films together, and we're gonna do the David Gordon Green films together in a huge mega episode.
Oh, okay, we're not.
We're going to talk about them each individually, but we're not, basically, instead of us breaking like I usually do, we're just going to call it the David Gordon Green Halloween films, and we'll talk about all three of them at the same time.
Gotcha.
But so we're doing that with Zombie 2. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to the Beniverse. My name is Ben Friedman. With me is roommate Tris. Thank you so much for joining me today, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
And join us next time as we talk. The man himself, Rob Zombie. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.